Challengers. Dudes rock. That's what Challengers is about. It's a movie for the boys, for the fellas, and I think it's pretty undeniable. Some people are going to disagree. You know, the most annoying person you know, after they see Challengers, they're going to go home, they're going to open up Microsoft Word, okay, and they're going to write in their little notepad their essay. Luca Guadagnino's Challengers. Challengers has queer narrative. How Luca Guadagnino's Challengers challenges conventional queer... No. Challengers is a movie for the fellas, and I have the receipts to prove it, okay? Example number 1. This is a movie for guys that, you know, that they like to hang out, friendly competition. Hey, they like to fuck the same chick. Don't we all? Isn't that what male friendship is about? Competition. Number 2, they like to eat phallic food, objects, churros, bananas, a lot of extended eye contact while they do that. That's just what guys do. You know, that's just what the boys are up to. Number 3,
they teach each other how to jack off.
You know, they teach each other how to beat the schmeat. That's a classic male pastime. We've all been there. You know, sleep over, your friend starts yanking it in his sleeping bag in someone's basement, and you kind of learn together. There's nothing queer about that, okay? And maybe sometimes you make out with your bro a little bit, and by accident, maybe you liked it. That's what this movie's about. But ultimately, it's a movie about hanging out with your bros and finding love with your bros. And yeah, so it's probably a little gay, but God, I like this movie. Challengers is the best comedy that will probably come out this year. I haven't looked at the release schedule of every movie coming out this year, but I highly doubt that any other movie coming out this year will be as funny and as entertaining. It's a funny movie, and that's what it should be sold as. It's sexy, don't get me wrong. Everyone's talking about how it's this sexy, tight drama a la Social Network. They got Trent Reznor on the score or whatever, and all that stuff's good, and it is sexy, though it's like not, listen, it's sexy with an asterisk, okay? Because I know people were dunking on Richard Brody, the film critic on Twitter and at the New Yorker. And I don't often agree with this guy, but he had a funny line about this movie that said, Challengers is sexy in the same way that adding a sprinkle of pepper into your food adds some spice. Now, I wouldn't go that far, but it's not entirely incorrect. I think this movie reads as so sexy because it is sexy, but at the same time, we live in currently a very sex-deprived movie culture. You know, in the era of Marvel movies, and for some reason, Top Gun and Mission Impossible come to mind as well. Tom Cruise is a very sexless figure. A lot of sexless blockbusters. The 3 main performances here, Zendaya and let me look it up. Josh O'Connor, Mike Faced. Zendaya, listen, so let's start with Zendaya. This is her first, I want to say great performance. She is good in Dune and Dune Part 2, but even there, I'm not fully sold on her. Something about it reads a little false or a little undertuned. The performance of Chani, it works, and I think Villeneuve builds up enough momentum to that world and that plot that it doesn't really matter if there are a few false notes here and there. But this is not about Dune, this is about this movie, and God damn, she's good in this movie. And I think that's because she's working with a great director who knows how to use her. Not only is this her first great performance, she is undeniable in this movie. She is an undeniable babe. And she kind of turns on the sexiness in a way that we've not seen, I don't think, from her in other performances. You know, she's serving, let me check my notes here. Serving cunt, I think that's what they say. She's serving cunt. Also, I should say, spoiler warning for Challengers. Zendaya in this movie, I've met many women like this in my life and dated a few. It's a type of girl that you date her and she doesn't really like you, but that's kind of what turns her on about the relationship, is that she has this kind of power dynamic, maybe. At the very least, she's keen on at some point pushing things too far and being mean, and I won't go further. But also fucking Josh O'Connor in this movie. How to describe him other than a bisexual terrorist? He is a menace. I mean, easily carries this movie. I think this movie doesn't work without that performance in particular. Very funny. A scary performance. You're kind of intimidated by him. He almost feels like the Joker. You don't know what he's gonna do exactly or what he's planned. and the kind of back and forth nature of the plot and how it's structured, and really adds to that, because you do get this feeling like there's some missing information that you're going to get about him that's really going to click things into place. What I really love about this movie is the way the film is structured. I think that's its big strength and perhaps one of its weaknesses. It's really interesting how this movie kind of circles back on certain points in time, and we get the main plot of this tennis game at the Challenger event, which is our overarching master structure. And then we get little flashbacks and pieces that get rolled in, usually at the right moment, that adds enough detail that allows us to squeeze a little bit more juice out of the plot as we're going. Apart from just the Trent Reznor score, I do think that this movie resembles a lot The Social Network because of that. It's slightly different, but the way in which in The Social Network, where they cut back to the boardroom where they're doing the legal interrogation or interviewing, this movie has a bit of that feel. I don't think it's a Social Network. I don't think it's maybe delivers as strongly as Fincher was able to. Though you know what? I might have to sit on that. Because, God, I do love this movie. I think my big problem with the structure, though, is the structure works, but sometimes the little pieces in between read as false or undeveloped. Like Tashi and Art's relationship, they kind of we don't really see a lot of it, and they don't really have any chemistry, which makes sense for these people, but it does seem that we're coming in at the end at this loveless part of their marriage where they're both unsatisfied. So it makes sense that there maybe isn't full chemistry there, but I could have used more there. But that's one of those things where it's like the structure of this film and the breakneck pace at which it moves doesn't really allow for that. So it's one of those trade-offs where it's like what you lack for in detail in certain places, you get back in kind of the frenzy of it all and how it plays out. And it's really fun. It's a fun movie because of that. And sometimes that's all you need. I think going back to that Richard Brody quote of it maybe isn't sexy as it could be. I do think, the psychosexual stuff, who the characters actually are, is a little muddy. I'm written by Justin Kuritzkis, by the way, who did Potion Seller and on a bunch of those face warp videos on YouTube. I am a huge fan of this guy. I love all of those videos, even just beyond the Potion Seller one. He is great, and I think you can feel his touch. It feels young. The energy of the film feels younger and lighter on its feet. There's a wittiness to certain parts. It feels more in tune with popular culture right now and how people talk. You can feel the younger voice in that script, and I do think that is Justin. Luca, let's talk about Luca for a second, and the cinematographer, which is what I wanted to look up. Sayombu Mukdikprom. He's a Thai cinematographer. It looks like he's worked with Luca on a number of his films. Challengers and what else? Call Me By Your Name, Suspiria. Talk about a movie. Talk about a movie that is a movie. That doesn't make any sense. But what I'm trying to say is that this movie, they shoot the hell out of this, and they take big swings in terms of how they tell the story visually with the camera that are hard to miss, even if you're not a big cinematography head. Like the POV tennis ball, I feel like most people will be like, damn, that was crazy. I feel like that shot will make some people nauseous. But there are all kinds of crazy shots, especially at that last little stretch at the end. Those shots underneath the tennis court were interesting. In fact, I think some of those maybe didn't even work for me, but I think that's just by virtue of the fact of how many big swings and risks they were taking in terms of how they were shooting this. You could really tell that this was deliberately and thoughtfully shot. There were great scenes where we had these great close-ups on Zendaya and I think Josh O'Connor's character, where they kind of had that choppy, low shutter speed thing, like the Wong Kar-wai thing, and we get these slow close-ups on their face as the wind and the trash bags, whatever, were going around on them. And it's rare and interesting to see a film like this that is shot thoughtfully and shot in such a way where we're not just getting the kind of basic Hollywood coverage. Guadagnino, who I think was a film critic. I have to look that up. I've never read anything of his. But Guadagnino, a big film nerd from what I understand. You can tell that he loves movies, and you can tell that him and his DP, Sayombu, I'm gonna say Sayombu, put a lot of thought into this. And I think this is a often very beautiful movie. It's very beautiful. It has beautiful people, obviously, but the way it's the way it's shot, particularly the tennis sequences. You know, I don't know why one of my favorite shots in the movie is that kind of tight close-up we get on Josh O'Connor's character while he's eating the banana, and he's like hunched over and like sweating. I think I just love his performance. And here's the last thing I want to say about like watching a movie in the theaters that you're enjoying is that the audience, you can really feel it in the room. People are engaged. People are laughing when they're supposed to. People are laughing even at things that they're like, should I laugh at this? And then you realize the movie even is inviting you to, even at the silly little things. Like my theater was laughing often at when when the Art Donaldson character, like his moan while he was playing tennis was like strangely more erotic and wimpy. I think that really fit with the character. But my theater, you could feel the tension and people like didn't want to laugh at it at first. And then once a few people started laughing at it, it really like broke through. And then people were just laughing at that all the time. It made for a much more enjoyable experience. And I think the movie isn't taking itself seriously enough that this is ever a problem, that you're like laughing at the dumb little things. I think Luca and Justin and everyone let it kind of be a little silly and funny. And I think that's what allows it to really fucking hit, bro. Also, shout out to the woman in the hotel bar when his Josh O'Connor's character goes on a date. I don't know why leaving the theater my thoughts were with her. She still doesn't have enough self-esteem to walk away after he's so awful. I felt for her, you know? I was like, one day, lady, you're gonna find someone who really respects you and really cares about you and will love you for who you are and what you do, and is really going to pay attention to you and isn't just going to sleep with you to have a place to stay for the night while he's playing at a tennis tournament. I know she's not real, but I hope she's doing well. You know, I hope she's figuring it out. And this experience really knocks it out of her. I imagine she has a friend that's like,
you gotta stop doing this.
And also, I was sympathizing with Art for most of the movie. Like, not to completely throw Tashi under the bus, that she's the one to blame, because clearly he is into this relationship dynamic. But I was just feeling for him, because, you know, he deserves a better relationship as well. As much as the conclusion of the movie is that the energy from the cuckoldry fucking motivates him again, I don't think that's a healthy force in that relationship, and I think he could do better. Currently he lacks self-esteem and kind of is into this submissive mommy's boy type shit, which is key to the cuckold stuff. Justin Kritzkis really has these characters down. I think these are very real people, because you know what, low-key toxic, okay, this is a tangent, when he's like, why can't you support me no matter what, even if I fail? And she's like, what am I, Jesus Christ? And it's like, yeah, bitch, you could try, okay? You could try to love him, okay? Because ironically, if you love him no matter what, that's when he's gonna feel safest, and that's when he's gonna grow the most and be the best version of himself, okay? So what she said was toxic, and anyone who doesn't think that is a little bitch and is also toxic. That's the bone I want to pick with this movie. Yeah, just a thought. So anyways, those are my thoughts on Challengers. What do you guys think? Comment below.